Ziva had always lived quietly inside the boundaries of her fears. From the outside, nothing about her life looked unusual. She lived in a small apartment on the edge of the city where the nights were quiet and the mornings arrived slowly. The streets outside her window were often empty except for the distant sound of traffic and the occasional bark of a stray dog. People who passed by would never guess that inside that apartment lived a woman fighting silent battles every single day. Fear had been her companion for as long as she could remember. Not the kind of fear that came from danger or sudden moments, but the kind that whispered constantly in her mind. It told her she wasn't ready. It told her she wasn't strong enough. It told her she would fail if she tried anything bold. For a long time, Ziva believed those whispers. She avoided risks. She avoided attention. She stayed inside her comfort zone so carefully that her life began to feel smaller with every passing year. Days blended together in a quiet routine that felt safe but empty. Sometimes she would sit by the window late at night, staring at the lights in the distance, wondering if everyone else felt the same invisible chains holding them back. Deep down, Ziva knew something inside her wanted more. She felt it in small moments. When she watched people chasing their dreams. When she read stories about courage and transformation. When she saw someone stand up after failing. A strange feeling would rise inside her chest, a mix of admiration and sadness. Because part of her believed she could never be that brave. One evening, during a restless night when sleep refused to come, Ziva found herself walking through the quiet streets near her home. The air was cool, and the sky above her was filled with stars. She rarely walked at night, but something about that evening felt different. Her mind was crowded with thoughts. What if my fears are lying to me? The question came suddenly, like a spark in darkness. She stopped walking and looked up at the sky. For years she had believed fear was there to protect her. Fear told her not to try too much, not to step too far, not to risk embarrassment or failure. But standing under that endless sky, she realized something unsettling. Fear had not protected her. Fear had kept her small. The realization stayed with her long after she returned home that night. The next morning, nothing dramatic happened. The world did not suddenly change. The sun rose just like it always did. The streets were the same. The city noise was the same. But something inside Ziva had shifted slightly. For the first time, she began to question the voice of fear instead of obeying it. It started with small acts of courage. One day she spoke up when she normally would have stayed silent. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought everyone could hear it. But nothing terrible happened. No one laughed. No disaster followed. Another day she tried something she had always avoided simply because it made her nervous. Her hands shook, and her thoughts screamed that she would fail. But she didn't. Even when things didn't go perfectly, she realized something surprising. Failure wasn't the monster she had imagined. Days turned into weeks, and slowly Ziva began to see fear differently. Fear wasn't a wall that blocked her path. It was more like a shadow, something that looked large and intimidating but disappeared when she walked toward the light. Still, the journey wasn't easy. There were days when the old voice returned louder than ever. Days when doubt wrapped around her thoughts like heavy fog. Days when she wanted to retreat back into the safe, small life she once knew. On one of those difficult evenings, she sat alone again by her window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. Her mind was full of the same old fears. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I fail tomorrow? What if everyone sees my mistakes? For a moment, she almost believed those thoughts again. Then she remembered something she had realized during her late-night walk weeks earlier. Fear had been wrong before. Maybe it was wrong now too. That night she wrote a sentence on a small piece of paper and taped it beside her window. You are capable of more than your fears allow. Every morning after that, she read those words. At first, they felt like a lie. But slowly, something strange happened. Her actions began to match the sentence. She started pushing her boundaries more often. She tried things that once seemed impossible. She allowed herself to make mistakes without letting those mistakes define her. And with each step forward, her confidence grew. Not in a loud or dramatic way, but quietly, like a seed slowly growing underground before anyone sees the first leaf. Months passed, and Ziva began to notice changes in herself that once felt unimaginable. She spoke with more certainty. She moved through life with more courage. She no longer waited for fear to disappear before taking action. Instead, she walked forward with fear beside her. One afternoon she returned to the same quiet street where she had taken that late-night walk months ago. The sky above looked just as wide and endless as it had that night. But Ziva was different. She stood there for a long moment, remembering the person she had been, the version of herself who believed fear controlled her future. That version of Ziva felt distant now. Fear still existed. It still whispered sometimes. It still tried to convince her that she wasn't ready. But she had learned something powerful. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. Courage was choosing to move forward anyway. As the sun slowly dipped below the horizon, Ziva felt a deep sense of quiet pride. Not because she had become fearless, but because she had finally stopped letting fear decide who she could be. She understood something now that she wished she had realized years earlier. The limits she believed in were never real. They were only stories fear had told her. And once she stopped believing those stories, a whole new world of possibilities opened in front of her. Ziva smiled softly as the evening breeze moved through the quiet street. For the first time in her life, she felt something stronger than fear. She felt possibility. And deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning of the life she was truly capable of living.